Hello and welcome to hobby vlog number 115. This week I've been a little bit unwell, not really very massively unwell, but just unwell enough that my energy levels have dropped, and a couple of days off work, and it's been a bit tough to focus and to get myself to the hobby bench. So I've been doing little bits and pieces here and there, but not the usual output. However, I have managed to get stuff done. The most important thing was starting to build the build in memory of my father. It's coming up to the anniversary of his passing, which always is a struggle for me. I think that has also impacted me this week. And I'm building his favourite plane, which I wasn't very well prepared there. I just had a sight, but I'm building this. Canberra is his favourite plane. I bought it actually to build last year and didn't get to it, so this week I've started it, and that's been a really nice thing to start. But there are other projects that I'm working on, the Encounter Challenge, TCU Challenge, those sorts of things are still in there. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I also released my epic collaboration with Orbz and a bunch of other awesome channels, not least of which BB from Benji's Hobbies, good friend, and it was really cool to see the reaction, to get so many views, and if you've come from that video and if you've stuck around, I really appreciate it. I enjoyed the edit for that. It was a very different style. This video will not change whatever I do. I will continue doing my vlogs in a vlog style, obviously with all of the progress and everything, but I may do a couple of edits that are a little bit more similar to what I did for the video on Thursday, as I actually enjoyed that edit a lot more than I expected. So let's see if I do that or not, I'm not sure. But anyway, enough rambling. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment below, let me know what you think. Do stick around, and yeah, I will see you again at the end. So that's all now nicely dried. I've not yet done the extra bits where I'm clamping, but I'll do those next, because the next thing that I want to do, or after this bit, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to come along and very carefully prime, using my Vallejo grey primer, all of these gravestones, so that I can then come along and paint them. So this is going to be a nice little job to do while if I've got a couple of minutes here and a couple of minutes there, because I can just do a little bit like this, and then stop, take the rest of the day. If I'm waiting for something with work, I can just do another couple. It's going to take a bit of time. It's not going to be the quickest thing in the world. I'm not a fan of aerosols, so I don't really want to aerosol paint these. I just want to prime the plastic or the resin, because these are printed, so that I can come in with some hobby paints, some model paints, and paint them all up while I'm painting the base. So yeah, that's the next thing to do, is to very carefully prime up all of these. It's going to be a bit easier when I'm not filming as well, because I'll be able to pick up the model and move it around. So yeah, going to get that done, and I'll be back for the next step once that's finished, which will probably be painting the dirt and starting to put some greenery on, and starting to paint these up in different colours as well. So yeah, it's not actually not far off done. I need to get back to the church really. Yeah, here we have a box full of Smaug. So I've finished printing all the parts, and they have printed out absolutely beautifully, as you can see. So yeah, very pleased. Really cool result. However, what I now need to do is take these teeth, of which there are a lot, and stick them in those little holes, of which there are a lot. So I'm not going to do that on camera, because it's going to be tedious as hell, but all I'll be doing is using a bit of super glue to stick all of these little teeth into the mouth of Smaug, and that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do that before I do anything else, because I think I need to, unless I think I need to. I don't think it's going to work to try to glue these other things together and then come and glue the teeth, the Smaug's teeth on. But you can see that goes together really nicely. There's a couple of bits of warping just from my printing, but I'll be able to quite easily fix that with a little bit of filler. Just use my Mr. Hobby dissolved putty, and maybe even some milliput in the bigger parts. But it's printed out beautifully, apart from that little bit of a pull there. So yeah, so now I'm going to get that all glued together, get the teeth stuck in, and when that's done, I'll bring it back for painting and the next step. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is paint up, or at least apply the texture to the church. And I've mixed up some of my grout mix. There's a link in the bottom of every single one of my YouTube videos to how to make this. And I'm going to paint this on, not so much worrying about the colour. The colour is about what I want. A bit of a sandstone is the one that I've picked. I'm going to paint this on over the whole thing to both cover up the gaps and to give it a bit of a nice texture. So this will take me a little bit of time. I'll obviously not run the camera the entire time, but that's going to be my next step. I'm going to paint the entirety of the church with this stuff, the towers and all the walls. So yeah, and I might end up doing 2 coats, and I might need to mix up some more, but it's a really repeatable recipe, so that won't be a problem. So I'll get that done, and then the next thing will be to apply the same dusty texture around the edges of the base, but I'm going to need to think about how I'm going to do this step. Though I might leave it, and I might do that step as, I might extend the step out a little bit as a path around. That might be a way I do it, I'm not sure. But yes, but the first thing is to get this texture on. So I'll get that done, and I'll bring you back for the next step, whatever that is, when I get to it. So this applied really nicely. I actually didn't have to mix up anymore, I had enough. I did maybe 2 or 3 goes round, just roughing up the edges, and you can see that it's got a really nice finish. I'm really pleased with that. What I'm now going to do is look at the roofs, and I was about to paint them and I realised I'd forgotten to do the ridge. So I'll show you how I'm going to go about doing the ridge. Now I've got this cardboard. This is actually a Reaper box, and it's not quite long enough to do the long section of this roof. However, if you think I'm going to have a tower sat on the roof, then that can join, if I cut it from here all the way along the length, the join can be underneath the tower and it won't actually matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a strip out of this, which is going to be about 1 centimetre thick, and I'm going to cut that all the way along, and then I'll make use of that. I'll bend it over, glue it over the top of this, glue it over the top of this piece, over the top of this piece, and the most complex part is going to be gluing it down to a spike over the top of the roof of the tower. And then when that's glued down, then I'll be ready to paint. So I'm going to get my knife, my safety ruler, and cut these up. It's not a complex process, so I won't show you the cutting, but when I come to particularly do this one, then I'll turn the camera back on and show you how I go about doing that. But that's the next step. I'm really pleased. I'm looking at this church and I just love the effect that I've managed to get. It really is blowing me away how nice it looks. I'm very pleased indeed. So anyway, let's get these ridge towers done, and then it'll be time for painting. I'll be back when I'm gluing on for the roof of the tower, as I say. You can see I've done the other roofs, and as promised I've stopped when I'm about to glue on to this, and it's a really quick and easy process actually. It's gone really fast. So because I've got nice thickness of card, it's not too thick and it's not too thin, I've been able to cut them out 1 centimetre and then score a line in about halfway through the card in the middle, and that's given me a nice bendable bit of card. And I am using super glue to glue it in place. So what I'm going to do is run a bead of super glue down either side of the ridge like this, and then I can press the 90 degrees of cardboard onto that. And this is going to take slightly longer than the other ones, because what I'm doing is I'm making it so that they overlap, so they go over, because then I'll come along and I'll cut those out. And you can clearly see that I'm going to struggle to stick the other ones in place, because they're probably going to knock the ridge off when I do. So what I'll do next is potentially be able to glue that one in place, and then I'll leave these two to go off, and then once they've gone off and I've trimmed them down, then I'll be able to come along and glue the other sides on. So I'll get these two glued now, let them go off, cut them down, and then show you how I'm going to achieve that point. It might be that the best way to achieve that point is actually with another piece of card. because it might be that it's not quite square just because of the thickness of the card being glued onto the roof. So it might be that I actually end up cutting out another shape of card, but I'll bring you along to show you what that looks like when it's done. So it really has been as simple as that. Put the ridge on and let it dry. So bring it back when I come to do the capstone on the top. So this is actually going to work without me needing to do anything more complex, which is good. So what I've done is I've trimmed down the two side pieces here, and you can see that I've actually also trimmed the edges at the top there, so where it meets on the triangle, on the pyramid on the top, and I can come along here now and lay these two ones over the sides, and while I will have to do some more trimming once they're glued in place, they will work. So I'm going to get that done. That'll be done with super glue again, and when it's dried I'll trim it down again with my little nail scissors, and then we'll come to painting. So yeah, that's the next step. And there we are, all the roofs done, and I really like how they've come out. They've come out far better than I expected them to. So the next step is going to be painting, and I'm going to be painting my roofs grey. So I've got my dark grey, and I've also got my light grey, and I'll bring in white later on in this process. I'm going to do this in very much the same way as I paint my stone. So I've got grey paint. I'm just going to come in. I'm going to paint it all grey. I'm not worrying about a black undercoat at this stage. I'm just going to paint it all grey, and then when it's all done grey and it's all dry, then I'll come along and I will come with a dry brush of the lighter grey, and then I'll do a final very light dry brush of the white just to bring it out, and that should be a really nice quick method of getting slate grey roofs. So I'm going to stop filming because it's just me painting it grey, but that's what I'm doing. But I just want to say it looks really good. I'm really pleased with the colour I've managed to get on the actual brickwork. I need to work on the windows as well. I'm working out how I'm going to do that right now. I might even pick them out in black, I'm not sure, and then we can get on to working on the base, and then we're really close to having this done, which is fantastic. Well, I'm really enjoying this. I really love Sarissa buildings. They really are very characterful and really worth the money, actually. Very good to work with, easy to work with, and as you can see, they just look great. One thing to add, this is one of the differences between wargaming terrain and if you're making terrain maybe for, I don't know, model railway where you're not going to go into it. You would have flashing coming down this angle here and this angle here, and if you were to do this as a non-enterable building, which obviously is totally legitimate, what you would be doing is you would be gluing on your tower and your roofs, and then do the ridge tile across, not underneath the tower, so you didn't have that gap, and then the same technique with the cardboard could be used to flash down these gaps. Now I do want to be able to go into the church, so I am leaving it so you can open it, but that's just something to add if you're looking at using this for a diorama rather than for playable terrain. But having said that, let's get some roofs painted up. I'll bring you back when I come to the dry brushing, and then we're making really good progress on this project. It's getting close to the anniversary of my father passing. I didn't sleep at all last night. It does get to me quite a lot. And I've just been talking to Ryan from TCU, and he's made an excellent suggestion. I bought this and I was going to make this last year, but it was just too raw. This is my dad's favourite plane, the Canberra. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a starter now. I'm not going to target or put pressure under myself to finish this by the anniversary, but we're going to make a start on it because it's going to be something I can do if I have more insomnia, which does happen around this time of year now. He's in my mind and my heart a lot. If I struggle to sleep, then I've got this to work on, and I can remember him while building this kit. So I did buy this quite a long time ago. It's been in my stash, in my mountain of opportunity, and as you can see, it's unopened and untouched. So what I'm going to do is take this out of its wrapping, have a look at it, read the instructions and get started, and I will do this as a full build along, so I'll film every second of this. This is going to be an emotional build for me, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you and hopefully having a beautiful model at the end of it. So now we've got that out of the packing, let's have a look and see what we've got. I'm not entirely sure how good of a kit this is. It's from Mir, Micro Mir. I've not built one of theirs before, so we'll see. We'll see how much effort it's going to take and how much cleanup it's going to take. But certainly initially they look clean enough. I can't see huge amounts of sprue marks in mould lines. Does look like something's missing here though. Maybe not. Maybe there was nothing there ever. Hopefully this is a complete kit. There's the wings, and there's the body, the tail, and the body, or the nose and the body, and some engine parts. And then we've got some more single-use plastic. We've got some detailing here. So let's get this open. I'm going to leave the detailing and leave the transfers inside that plastic. I say that and I accidentally pull the transfers out. But let's have a quick look at this and see what it says about the sprues and see if I think I'm missing anything. Hopefully I'm not. Doesn't seem to suggest that there should be any gaps. Let me have a quick look. So that's the B sprue. That's the D sprue, and that's okay to have a gap. You can see it's got a gap there, and it's got a gap there. We've got the A sprue. We've got the C and the E sprue. We've got a couple of extra ones. I'm a bit confused by that. Don't know where that one is. I'm going to dig into this. Stop filming now. There's no point in me going and ahhing. I'm going to try and work out what I've got here. Unless there's some other, there's some other lists here. Yes, and look, it does say that these aren't here, so that's good. Good, okay. But however, what's this one? This one is, yeah, so G is missing. It doesn't need those, it doesn't need, okay, yeah, so that's correct, so I'm absolutely fine. I'm absolutely fine, it doesn't have everything it needs. So that's a good start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself sorted out, get myself set up at the table, and snip out and start the first step. And this is going to be awesome. I'm very excited. I really am. I've been really looking forward to starting this. So let's go to step one and see what we can see. I have very little time right now, as Andrew is nearly home from school with Rosie, and it's snowing quite heavily. So I'm keeping my eyes very closely watch on the road, on the lane as they come up. It's really, really bad weather. But I'm going to start, and I'm just going to do at least step one, which is part 99 to part 95. And this is part 99 and this is part 95 here in the sprue. So just going to snip them off very carefully and clean them up and then glue them together. This part does involve some photo etch, which I'm not going to do now because I want to have a little bit more time and not want to dash away as soon as I get home. I do want to shout out to someone, and I can't remember who it is, and I apologise, and if it was you, please make yourself known in the comments below, who pointed out to me that I was being a bit of an idiot in not getting all of my glue out of my Tamiya extra thin, because, and this is something I just did not know, you can adjust the brush inside to make it extend a little bit further down, and then it will reach the bottom of the brush, of the pot. And I've done that and it works, and that's awesome. So I'm back to using my original Tamiya extra thin. I've taken the new bottle that I opened the last time I was using Tamiya, and I've put it away so I can hopefully empty this before I start the next one. So yeah, there's that. So that's a little bit of filler while I clean up the marks where I snip this off the sprue, just using a sharp knife. I might actually go back to using my sprue cleaner, which is awesome, and I love it. So this is part 99, and you can see here that we have a little notch on the back. Just get that a little bit more there. And this is part 95, and I believe that they go together like that. Now I'm not exactly actually quite cleaned up part 99 correctly yet, so let me get that cleaned. But you can see that when that's together, it's going to follow the curve correctly. So get that cleaned up a bit more. So there we are, they're now nicely cleaned up, and that is going to glue on there, I believe. And then it sits onto part 78, which I might actually get now because I think that's going to hold it together a little bit better. So part 78 is going to be on here, and it's going to be that part there. So let me snip that off and clean that up as well. There we are. So that's going to make me a little bit more confident that I'm doing this correct, because it's going to sit around that little notch. So this is going to go on one side, and this is going to go on the other. So having them with a little split Not totally sure. Oh, I see. No, look, there we are. I'm glad I did that. There's an angle, so he needs to be glued at an angle and then that can sit in there. Yes, I'm glad that I did that because that glues like that. That's better. And then that slots in around that little slot there. Perfect. There we are. Right, that just goes to show that sometimes taking a little bit more time is a good idea. Now, I use my Tamiya extra thing incorrectly. I'll make that very, very clear right now. But I do it like this, so it's got a little bit of grab, and it gives me a chance to get them in place. And then I can add the Tamiya in the way it's supposed to be added. So, let me just get that there. Make sure it's all nicely lined up. And then this is how you're supposed to use the Tamiya. You're supposed to hold them together and let capillary action pull it in. There we are. So what we'll do is we'll sit that down on that, and then I'll run my glue along the back and along the front. Then make sure it's lined up right. And there we are, we've made a start. We've made a start. So I'm going to stop now because I think they're going to be home very soon. I'll bring you back when I come to the next step. I've been looking forward to doing this. This is very awesome. So I had another delivery today. It was very exciting because I did include my new table saw for my workshop, but that's not going on this video because, well, yeah, when it's all done and open, then you'll see that because I'll be using it. But what did arrive was my Secret Santa. Now, the SBG, the Middle-earth GBHL, sorry, Facebook group. There's a guy on there, Sebastian, who's run this for years now, and it's wonderful. Now, I'm no longer on Facebook, but I still take part. I still enter via email, and I managed to buy someone some lovely gifts, which I hope arrived on time for Christmas. These arrived today. This is always the risk, but it doesn't matter. It just means it's Christmas for me today. And he wrote an absolutely lovely gift. In your letter you specified you are looking for certain 8-legged creatures, so in the package you'll find some particularly nasty ones. To counter the spider's nastiness, I also included their natural enemy. And then a quote from the book: somehow the killing of this giant spider all alone by himself in the dark made a great difference to Mr. Baggins. He felt a different person, and much fiercer and bolder in spite of an empty stomach, as he wiped his sword on the grass and put it back into its sheath. I will give you a name, he said to it, and I shall call you Sting. I also added some nice sweets from the Netherlands. Now, sweets are always welcome, so that's pretty cool. Lastly, you will find some material to base the spiders in their woodland surroundings. I hope this does not make a problem at the border, with it being a small plastic bag with green squishy stuff in it from the Netherlands. Kind regards, Secret Santa. And I'm not kidding, he's done a beautiful job on this letter. Oh, I haven't even seen it on the back. I've not actually seen that. He's cut out and stuck Lord of the Rings, and he's put the poem. This is going to be framed and going to be put up on the wall. Thank you so much, Secret Santa. It was wonderful to receive it. I've been very excited, and I can't believe it. I was going to frame the letter, and now I'm going to have to frame it two-sided so I can turn it around, because that's just beautiful. However, let's have a look and see what's in the box. So we've got something to unwrap here. Have a look at this. As you can see, I really have not been into this. Oh wow, it's Bilbo. I don't have that. That's awesome. That is so awesome. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. And we have some miniature cookies. I will have a look at that in a second. We have some Tunny's Chocolonely Met Peppernoot. That'll be an interesting one. Loads of gold coins. Rosie will definitely enjoy those. She sees those on Peppa Pig, so she will know what they are. And then at the bottom we have the main present. So let's unwrap that. This is like being Christmas Day and sharing it with all of you guys. So let's get this opened. I don't have the puppies here to help me. Thelma and Louise were the ones that are opening our presents for us this year. Wow, the Spider Queen. Oh, that is perfect. Wonderful, look at that. So I've got the Spider Queen, which will come with the broodlings as well. Now I've got Bilbo, and let's have a quick look and see what herbage he sent me. awesome. Look at that, some fantastic clump foliage that will go really well on the base of that. So thank you so much, Sigmar Santa. That's awesome. That's made my day. I've had a tough couple of days with missing my dad so much and not being well, and it combining together to insomnia. That's put a smile on my face, I can't say. That's awesome. So wonderful. There we are. So if you're into SBG, get onto the GBHL Facebook group or put a comment below and I'll pass the email address. So if you want to get in touch next year, get involved next year, it's a wonderful thing. Spread joy, spread good cheer, share your hobby, and just put a smile on someone's face. What could possibly be bad about that? So the dark grey has dried nicely. So what I'm going to do now is do a very light dry brush, and I mean a very light dry brush of the lighter grey. Doesn't look like much is happening, but it will show up when it dries. So don't get confused and think, oh, I can't see anything, and put too much on, because that destroys the whole purpose of a dry brush. So I'll just be doing it to that level. Here's one I did earlier. You can see it really does bring out some really nice effects. And the next thing I'll do after this has been done is I will come along with some flock and put a little bit of something like to make it look like it's got some mould and that sort of growth coming down as well. Bit of greenery just to bring it to life a bit. So yeah, doesn't take long, and that will be the roof done. And then we're going to get on to working on the rest of the terrain, the rest of the scenery around the base, and finish it off, and obviously get back to the actual purpose of this build, which is the 10 by 20 for the challenge, for encounter challenge. So I need to get that finished as well, obviously. But getting this church done is just such a pleasure for me. I'm so pleased to get it done. There we are. That's all of the dry brushing done. So this happened. I had this hung on my wall. Really pleased with it hung on my wall. Looked up and saw it wasn't hung on my wall anymore. Well, this bit was, but this bit wasn't. And it's come unstuck, which I should have probably, well, I don't know, I'm thinking back now whether I did put PVA on this or not before I put the modelling compound down, and I thought I did, because I do know that the modelling compound doesn't stick very well to the to MDF. I definitely sanded it to give it a better chance of sticking, but maybe I'd forgotten I didn't actually put PVA on. So I'm actually going to do two things here. First of all, as you can see, I'm going to spread some PVA over and set the build back on top of the backing. I mean, the alternative to that could be that I actually glued a hook to the back of the build, but that wouldn't be very hard wearing, and that would probably also end up pulling off. I've put way too much white glue on, way too much PVA there. The second thing that I'm going to do once this is dried is I'm actually going to glue in place underneath here at the bottom. I'm going to glue a lip, so I'm going to stick that to both the build and also to the backing, and that will act as a little bit of a support, just a little bit of support underneath. And I also might even put a little sign on it, a little label on it to describe what the build is and commemorate it. So I'll make a benefit out of a fail, and I've got a very, very crying, I think she needs a toilet, Xena here, who's crying at my feet. So I probably better, she doesn't care about her. She doesn't care about the build, so I probably better go and let her out to the toilet. So yeah, so I'll get that glued on, and then when that's dried, like I say, I'm going to put something on the bottom that will act as a little shelf, which will hopefully prevent this occurring again, and then I'll hang it back up on my wall. But it was a bit of a shock to see, I can tell you. So before I start doing the sandy kind of like texture here, there's two things that I need to do. First of all, one of the things I need to do is work out what I'm going to do with this step, which I've not yet worked out. The second thing is I want to have a path from this to the double doors, and I want it just to lead basically pretty much straight towards the edge of the tile. And so what I've just done is I've sat, I'm sure I had some already, but I can't find them. So I've just sat with my number 4 builder's sand, which is the largest grade after I've sieved, and picked out white stones. Because I lived the dream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick these white stones in along the edge of the path. Now, I am wondering whether I should do this now or whether I should do this after I actually have done all the painting or what have you, but I'm going to do it now, and I just have to be super careful when I paint because I really want them bedded in. I want them to look like they've been there a while, and they're going to be basically edging stones for the path, so I probably don't want to use these huge big ones. Most places I probably want to have a couple of big ones at the beginning, and then smaller ones, and then a big one, and then smaller ones. So I'm going to do that, and the way I'm going to stick those down is using PVA. So it's going to be a very, very similar process to what you've seen me do before. So I will have a bit of PVA, a little bit of a brush, and just basically dip the stone into the PVA and then put the stone on the base. So here we go, a little blob of PVA on my fantastic, and it's done me really well, this plate. A little bit of PVA, drop the PVA on the edge of the stone, and then put the stone down, and rinse and repeat. So I'll get this done, and I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it, whenever that is. This has been a slow project, this, but thank goodness it doesn't have to be fast, because we've got longer to do this one than normal. So yeah, I've not felt pressured, but that can be a bad thing, because it can mean that you dawdle. Anyway, this one doesn't want to stand up. Come on. Smaug teeth. This is legitimately a real pain in the backside. It really is a very fiddly job. So I've just been doing it on and off through the week. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I'm sat watching a YouTube video right now, non-hobby related, and I thought I'd quickly film just to show how I'm doing it, because if you want to do this, you're going to have to print this model and do the same thing. You have to do the same thing. So I put a little bit of my super glue gel in there, and then grabbed some tweezers. I've printed out more sets of teeth. A couple of reasons. One of them, I've spoiled some teeth across the room a couple of times and can't find them, and secondly, I actually made a mistake and put teeth in the wrong place, but I actually don't mind it because I like how it's looking. So I used the big teeth in too many places, but it does make him look a little bit more aggressive, and that's not the worst thing in the world. So very carefully take your tooth, don't spoing it, which is why I keep dropping it, because I'm doing my best not to hold it too tight, but that just adds to the frustration, because if you hold it too tight in the tweezers, it will go across the room. So let me just get this seated in the tweezers correctly, and then once you've got it seated in the tweezers, you can very carefully put it into the hole in the gum, and then once it's in there, and this is one of the benefits of gel super glue, you can kind of nudge it a little bit into place with your hands, with your fingers like this, to get it to the right angle, and then there we are, we've got another tooth. And it's taken ages. So I've done quite a lot on this side as well, as you can see, but I haven't done very much on the bottom drawer at all on this side. I've only done 2. And on the right hand side, I've got a long way further on both sides. So I'm just going to keep cracking on with that. Once I've finished gluing these in place, there'll be a huge cheer, and then I'll bring you back and we'll do the rest of the gluing for the main body, or the main part of the head. We'll do the whole head together and do that all, fill in all the gaps. So I just painted up the gravestones with a couple of very quick coats of contrast paint, because I'm starting to feel lazy on this build. I want to get it done, and contrast paint is good for this. What I'm going to do now is start to put down some PVA, and I probably need a bigger brush. I keep doing that, but I'll go and get a bigger brush in a second and do it a bit quicker. I'm going to put some PVA down over here. I'm definitely not going to put it in everywhere, because I want to leave it patchy, and I'm going to use some flock over this side only. And the reason I'm going to do it over this side, this is the side where the overgrowth is that I'm going to not put it so much on this side. I'm actually going to attempt a different technique, and try and do a dry brush of green, I think. So use paint to colour the dirt rather than using flock. Now I'm not sure how well that's going to work, and it might be that I try it and it doesn't work, but I'm going to give it a go anyway, and see what that looks like when it's done. But the first thing is going to be flock at this end. And once I've flocked this, then I'll start coming in with some brambles and other awesomeness to really make it overgrown. So yeah, there we are. A bit of paint, that's enough glue on, I think. So I've got the flock. I'm going to use a shop bought flock, and as always, scatter it on over the top, like that. And then empty it off. And there we are. So I'm going to put a little bit more glue around the edges and do a little bit more green because I want a little bit more than I've got on there. And then I'll try and do the dry brushing at this end to pick out, and I'm probably going to put longer grass actually around the outsides as well, but I want this area to look a little bit more neat, as if it's really cared for, and this is really overgrown. That's the plan anyway. So I'll do the same technique just then all around the outsides, a little bit more at this end, and then let that dry overnight, and then tomorrow I'll come in and do some more, which will be putting the overgrowth on over there. So yeah, there we are, bit of progress. Going a bit slower on this than I expected, but nearly finished. So that has now gone on nicely, it's dried, the flock. And what I'm now going to do, as I said, is at this end, and I don't know if this is going to work, I'll probably need a bit more paint than that, I'm going to come along and lightly dry brush over the top of the dirt, over the top of the sand, so it looks like very, very well cared for grass. And I want the whole thing to be grassed. However, I'm going to leave a little bit of a dirt, kind of an area here where it's going to be a little bit less. And that's working, yeah. So I'm going to have a little bit of a patch here where potentially people have come in, and that's where they've walked in, and so they've kind of worn the grass away a little bit maybe. But everywhere else, I'm going to dry brush green. There we are. So a bit of a dry brush, and we have a really nice, very, very short grass for where the kempt part of the cemetery is. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to come along with the PVA, get a different brush, and I'm going to seal down all of the flock. So that will just be a thin coat of the PVA put over the top of the flock, and let that dry. And then when that's dry, we'll come along and we'll do some more of the overgrowth and what have you. So I won't film all of this, I don't think, but you're literally just going to come in and cover it with PVA like that, because that will then seal it in place. The same idea as when you seal in place the dirt underneath. It's all about layers, about taking it easy. You can see how much is coming off on my brush there, and that's why we need to do this. So yeah, I'll get that done. Take a little bit of time, do it off camera, do it very steadily. And next time we'll do it, next time I come to this will be the final thing, which will be building up the overgrowth on this end. So I haven't actually sat down at this for a couple of days, and I've been missing it. So I'm going to do a little bit now. It's a Saturday evening, just finished doing my 22-minute painting, and what I'm now going to do is just a little bit of this. I've got a cup of tea. I'm not entirely sure. I said I was going to film everything that I'm doing on this, but I'm not entirely sure whether I am, because I think it might just get a bit samey. So I might focus more in on doing showing the interesting or new bits or different bits, and then do the rest of it off camera, just because it'll be a bit samey, like I say. But as it happens, the first thing I need to do is actually a little bit different. So this is the photo etch, and I'm now just cutting the photo etch out of the sprue, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do, but this is one of the reasons why I like making kits like this. It forces you to just slow down and be careful. So you can see I've managed to separate that. That's part 13, photo PE 13, And on the instructions here, that red pit, that says PE13, and that puts it here, and I think wrapping round, maybe, I'm not sure, it looks a bit odd, doesn't look like it necessarily fits. So yeah, I'm going to have a quick play around with this and see whether I can get that to go in. What I need is some tweezers. I might get some better ones than these. These ones are probably a bit magnetic. Oh good, it's not magnetic. So pick the... I am too clumsy really for kits, but if I can do them, anyone can. As you can see, way too clumsy. Right, so I've got that now. So this is going to stick on there, sticking out the side. However, the next picture doesn't show it sticking out the side, which is a bit odd. Wow. I'm just going to stick it on without bending it. Sorry for the period of thinking then, but what I've got here is some super glue. You can't use plastic glue, obviously, to glue metal to plastic. So just a little bit of the super glue. This is super glue gel. And then what I'm going to do is drop that in place across there and leave it sticking out until I get to a later point where it will become clear, hopefully, whether I should bend it or not. Now I don't think I should bend it, and the main reason I'm saying that is that later on in the instructions there are places where they say do bend it, and they've got, you know, the angle to bend it to, but in this case they don't. That's not really sticking on very well either. There we are. Right, so there we are, that's photo etch on. Photo etch is a interesting thing. It does look good, but it's a bit fiddly. Right, that was a longer clip than I expected it to be. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to carry on with the build. If I come to something that's interesting, then I will film again. And when, and obviously I'll keep bringing you along when it comes to something interesting. But for now, I'm just going to carry on. I've got to do the next step 3 times. Again, that's going to be a bit dull. And there is a lot of photo etch on it. As you can see, all the red numbers are photo etch. So there's a lot of photo etch on this. So I am thinking that this is possibly going to be a bit annoying. So yeah, I'll bring you back when I've finished or when I come to the end of the building session if I haven't come to anything more interesting to show you. One thing that is very interesting though is look at that page there, look at that. What are they talking about? Can you read that? I can't read that. I think that's actually telling you exactly what everything is in the cockpit, which is pretty cool if they'd actually printed it out big enough to read. Well, that was fun for a certain value of fun. So I've made 3 seats that are here. There, 3 seats. But I've not done any of the photo etch on them, which is all of the photo etch in that area, just because I'm tired. It's been a long day. Rosie, Daddy Saturday, so tired Saturday. I also found that I've missed a section here, this tray underneath the cockpit. But I think that actually ended up being for the best, funnily enough, because I was able to put it in exactly the right angle, hopefully, and in the right place, hopefully. Looking at it, looks pretty good. By putting the back on, which is actually from this step over here, so putting the back on here. And I've also tried to put that the map shelf on, but that was pretty tough. I've not glued the map shelf has stayed on nearly. It's a bit wonky. Yeah, it's really fiddly, this, really fiddly. I've stuck the side panel on for the cockpit, and I've created the front control surface and what have you, display panel, but I've not stuck it on because I think I want to do the stick first, which goes in that little hole there, which you can't see, just a second at the right angle, that little hole there, and I need to. I don't want to be putting the stick in after I've put the thing in on the front. So it's been a bit of a balancing act. There's been a lot of swearing, which doesn't go onto tape, but yeah, a lot of swearing in this. It's been very fiddly. I'm actually quite cold as well, so my hands are a bit clumsy. But progress, progress indeed. I just hope that I'm doing it right and it's not gonna look terrible when it's finished. But whatever it looks like, I'm gonna get it done. So onwards. But I'm tired now. Finished my cup of tea. Gonna wrap that up there. Tomorrow I will try and do the PE and finish off the cockpit at least. Oh, big yawn, sorry. Then I move on to the next steps after that. But yeah, tired, way too tired to deal with PE that's that small. So those things there, and yeah, tiny things. So that's going to be for tomorrow. So during the week I've actually managed to get the girl riding bear painted up in my 22 minutes for 2022, which is what I'm doing this year after doing 20 minutes last year. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Not brilliantly happy with the paint job, but it's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount her onto this chopping board here. I was thinking about putting it onto the large circular one, but I've decided against that just because I think it's going to look a bit nicer. And what I'm going to have, the idea I've got is that it's actually going to have a cliff, so it's going to be quite high up. And it's going to have a stream coming along and a cliff, and potentially a waterfall coming down into the stream, and I'm potentially going to cover most of the wood, but I'm thinking about either maybe like routing or carving into the wood in some way, so that the stream, or maybe even the stream bed will taper out into the wood, because I do like to keep showing the wood on this series. But she's going to be on a cliff. There's going to be some trees around her, a waterfall going down to a stream, basically, and that's the plan. But yeah, very basic paint job. A little bit of contrast paints used. I'm trying to get used to those. So contrast paints on the bear and on the ground. The ground was just shaded. That will obviously get bedded into the terrain. And I tried to go for a darker skin on the girl, but I don't know how well that's worked. It's okay. I'm not too unhappy about it, but the main thing is the scenery around it. So next thing I'm going to do is start to build up the landform. So I'll use insulation foam XPS to build up the landform, carve it down, work out how I'm going to do how much of this I'm going to keep the display, how much of the wood I'm going to keep, and then yeah. So let's get some XPS and start sticking it in place. Well, I've been continuing on my Orbz project, attempting to print out some more chairs similar to what the female wizard are sitting on, and I've made 2 mistakes in a row. So first of all, I didn't realise that the files, these are also designed by Quinn and they're superb, but I didn't realise the files weren't exactly scaled the same. He very nicely sent me the separate STL, and I didn't realise that there wasn't scaled the same as in here. So I printed out 3 thinking, yay, I'll just print these out, and they came out much too small, as you can see. However, Quinn said, oh, they could be kids' chairs. So what I then did was I went and I scaled it to the same scale as for the girl sitting on the chair, and I got these, which as you can see are huge. And the reason why they're too big is because I forgot that I was testing against a supported file. So I now have lots of chairs which will either appear in the diorama or not, I'm not sure. However, I have now sliced up, and not yet printed, but I've sliced up the correct height chairs so that I can have her sitting here, and I can have a chair here, and a chair here, and a chair here. As I say, these could be giant's chairs, who knows. But anyway, they're nice. But what printed last night, let's just go over to the printer. As you can see, this is still on the print plate. This is a load of stuff from STL Miniatures. Now I have actually, funnily enough, having just printed this, I've actually just stopped my Patreon with them because I've transferred over to someone else. But this is some amazing stuff, and I actually really like their stuff. So I might go back to patronise them again in the future. But there's a comfy chair, there's a globe, there's maps, there's a couple of bottles and what have you. And that's going to be really cool for this diorama as well. I'm starting to go a little bit nuts on this, but I'm really, really excited what it's going to look like. And obviously I've got 3 more of those chairs to print, And once I've done that, then we'll start to, and I've got these painted, then I'll start to build the actual room that they're going to sit in. So just a quick update on how this is going. I've got a load more printing to do, as I say, but yeah, it's going well. I'm really pleased with it so far. What I am going to do is show you how I painted these chairs, because it's a really nice effect that gives a really good finish. So once I've printed out the correct size chairs, I'll bring you along for that painting session as well. Well, there we are. As is often the case, when I think I've not done much, I actually end up looking through these videos and I record the intro, then do the edit, and then record this outro. So often when I'm doing the intro, I don't actually know, and I've hit 45 minutes somehow. So I don't know how that's happened, but it's obviously been a more productive week than I realised, which is heartening because I've felt a little bit down because I've felt like I've laid around a lot just trying to get better, and I really am not very good at being sick. I get very frustrated with just laying on the sofa and doing nothing. So it's nice actually to see, you know what, you did actually do a few bits and pieces. So this is another benefit of these vlogs, certainly for me, and I really hope it encourages you guys out there as well, just to keep going, just keep plodding along. I read The Tortoise and the Hare to Rosie this week, and the final little moral at the end of the story is slow and steady wins the race, which isn't always the case, but certainly slow and steady is the best way to get a lot done, and I prove that every day. So anyway, there we are, a little bit of morality for you at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. Please do comment below. I read and reply to every single comment I receive, so don't be shy. I love to read your comments, they do really inspire me. And I will wrap up by saying, as always, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.